welcome back to my YouTube channel Medical Classes by Dr. Srinidhi Kumar Acharya. Please don't forget to subscribe my channel and also please give your valuable comments. You can also visit my playlist. In the playlist, I have given all the topics in a very systematic order. You can make use of it. We are discussing about fetal development and growth. So last class we are discussing about the skull development, and today we will see some of the important abnormalities related to the skull, especially the sutures. Okay, so now the improper formation of this skull bones, that means improper joining of the skull bones, we will call it as craniosynostosis. Craniosynostosis. There may be early feature of the bones, there may be overriding of the bones, so they are all called as craniosynostosis. Now when the brain is growing, the sutures will extend and give the spaces for the growing brain. But sometime, due to mutation in the fibroblast growth factor receptor, okay, the suture formation will not be proper and there may be immature closure of the sutures. So why there will be immature closure of the sutures, abnormal suture closure? Because for the suture, proper closure of the sutures, we require a material called as fibroblast growth factor receptor. This fibroblast growth factor receptors, if it is absent because of some of the mutation in the gene, then the suture formation will not be proper. So developing brain cannot accommodate itself because the sutures will not grow, not extend, they will be fused earlier. So underlying brain which is developing, so that will fall short of space, and that leads to so many problems. Now this immature closure can occur in any one of the suture, or it may also occur in all the sutures. Now we have got so many sutures are there: sagittal suture, coronal sutures, and lambdoid, mastoid, etc. The sagittal suture is prematurely supposed if it closes. Sagittal suture running from the front to back. So sagittal suture, if it is prematurely closer, then the bone cannot extend and develop on the sides. On the sides there is no scope for the development because it is closed. So it can extend only in front portion and back portion. Okay, so it's just as shown in this figure, it can extend in the front portion and as well as back portion, but there is no scope for the development of these bones on the sides because suture has been closed. Sagittal suture has been closed, it's running horizontally. Now this gives the elongated shape of the skull. This gives the elongated shape of the skull. So this is also called as long narrow skull. It is also called as dolichocephaly or scapiocephaly. Scapocephaly or dolichocephaly. So this is one of the important skull disfiguration because of the suture closure. Similarly, we have got another condition, plagiocephaly. In the plagiocephaly, that we will see. Similarly, if the coronal suture loses prematurely, so closes prematurely, if the coronal suture closes prematurely, then the skull cannot enlarge anterior posteriorly. In the first case, sides it cannot enlarge. Okay, only anterior posteriorly it is enlarging, therefore it is leading to elongated, narrow shape. But here the problem is coronal suture, if it is prematurely get closed, then anterior posteriorly it cannot enlarge. Okay, so but it can enlarge on the sides and as well as the back. It can enlarge on the sides and the back. So then the pressure on the developing brain takes the bone of the skull upwards like a tower. Okay, so inside the skull the bone is developing, so that creates the pressure that is pushing this bone towards the upside, and that gives a tower-like structure. Okay, so this is also called as oxycephaly, or also called as acrocephaly, cap-like, tower-like or cap-like. Similarly, we have got another problem. If the coronal suture as well as lambdoid suture both are closed prematurely, if the coronoid is also closed, coronoid closed means now the anteroposterior diameter is not possible. Okay, in the meantime lambdoid is also closed. So now skull cannot grow anteroposteriorly and as well as transversely. Both is not possible. So this produces a very small skull. This produces a very small skull which is somewhat square in shape, and this is called as brachycephaly. Okay, so this is called as brachycephaly. We have got many other if the unilateral coronal suture and unilateral lambdoid suture is closed, suppose, okay, if the unilateral coronal suture and unilateral lambdoid suture is closed, then it leads to a asymmetrical shape of the skull. See, coronal suture unilaterally, that means in one side anterior posterior diameter is not possible, enlargement is not possible. Another one is unilaterally lambdoid suture is closed. At one side transverse the growth is not possible. So then abnormal shape of the skull will be formed, and this is called as a plagiocephaly. This is called as plagiocephaly. You can see over here plagiocephaly. See the second picture here. So this is abnormal shape because anterior posterior diameter in one part is get affected, and also the transverse diameter here is get affected. So that gives an abnormal shape. That is called as plagiocephaly. Similarly, sometime fused sagittal, coronal and lambdoid suture is called. That means sometime what happens is coronal suture is also fused, sagittal suture is also fused, and lambdoid suture is also fused totally. Now this is just like a clover leaf. Okay, this is just like a clover leaf. Just look at the picture over here. Okay, this is called clover leaf-like structure. Another condition is a trigonocephaly. Trigonocephaly means a fused metaphysic suture. See, if you look into this normal skull, if this is the frontal bone and here the metaphysic suture, if the metaphysic sutures are closed, then the anterior portion of the skull is triangular in shape, just like a boat shaped. Okay, so that condition is called as a trigonocephaly. Okay, it's triangular. It's called as trigonocephaly. This is abnormal closure of the metaphysic suture. Similarly, there is another condition which is called as megalocephaly. Megalo means embryonic proliferative disorder characterized by enlargement of the cerebral hemisphere. Megalo means big. So here cerebral hemisphere is too big for the skull. Okay, so therefore it leads to the abnormal shape of the skull, and that is called as megalocephaly. And these are some of the pictures. Now, what do you mean by hydrocephaly? Hydrocephaly means cerebral hemispheres are absent. Okay, there is no cerebral hemisphere, only fluid is filled. Therefore, it is called as a hydrocephaly. Hydrocephaly and hydrocephalus, these are different. Hydrocephalus means cerebral hemispheres are there, but the fluid distribution, that is CSF distribution, that is get affected. Impaired circulation of the CSF is there. Cerebral hemisphere is there. Okay, only in the ventricular system fluid is going in hydrocephalus, but that ventricular system is get dilated. That is called as hydrocephalus. Whereas what do you mean by hydrocephaly? The whole of the brain itself is filled with water only. That is called as hydrocephaly. But microcephaly is different. What do you mean by microcephaly? Microcephaly means it is not due to the suture premature closure. Microcephaly. It is due to the absence of the brain growth, which is not pushing the suture to extend. Okay, so usually in intrauterine growth retardation and all, we will get the microcephaly. The brain growth itself is not taking place. Therefore, it is not pushing the skull sutures. If there is the pressure is developing from inside, the sutures will get extended and the normal shape of the skull will be formed. But there is no brain matter itself to push it. So that leads to microcephaly. So that's the difference. It is not because of a premature closure. Now, usually microcephaly result in small head. We know that usually we will get such type of heads in case of syndromic babies, especially Down syndrome and all, and severely mentally retarded babies also. Now, this is about, in short, about the development of the skull. And here also you can see this is plagiocephaly. Okay, plagiocephaly abnormal shape is there, and this is schematic representations. This is a trigonocephaly where metaphysic suture is abnormally get fused, leading to a boat-like shape or triangular shape. Okay, so these are some of the common skull abnormalities related to suture. In the next class, we will see the next part. Till then, goodbye. Thank you very much for watching me, and please don't forget to subscribe my channel, and also please give your valuable comments. Thank you very much.